Welcome back, everybody, to Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen. Today we are talking about matching, and we have two guests with us, Amanda and Sandra.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I am a mom, biological mom to three, stepmom to three, and a surrogate twice to two siblings. And I am on my third journey that is not having the best situation.
I'm sorry. I love you. Hi, my name is Sandra. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm a mom to two boys, and I recently delivered a baby boy in February.
Oh, yay, congrats.
Okay, well, welcome. This is going to be, I don't know how long it'll be, but we'll see. But let's talk about matching. So we've all been through it. You were through it 20 years ago, though, Mom, and we were all kind of newer to it. So when it comes to matching, did everybody meet on Zoom, or have you guys met in person?
I matched on Zoom both times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's common nowadays. Sandra, did you meet on Zoom? I would assume maybe.
Yeah, it was Zoom. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like that's more common these days. I only ever met on Zoom. But
way
I know
common. Way common.
Yeah.
Way back when there was no Zoom. Wasn't a thing. Wasn't a thing. So you had to come in to meet. And usually you didn't come in to meet until like your insurance was approved. And then they were like, okay, now you can meet because now your insurance is approved. Like you could be matched, but you weren't like you couldn't really like meet. You know what I'm saying?
That's interesting. So like what if you're a surrogate and you didn't and your insurance wasn't like your own insurance wasn't surrogate friendly?
Your own insurance was never surrogate friendly back then. You had to get an insurance policy from them, and it was normally Blue Cross Blue Shield. It was the one that was the big one that everybody got. Premiums were very expensive. And it took a while because you were getting like a whole new insurance. So it took a while. So you really weren't even given profiles until your insurance went through.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it is weird.
I feel like that might be better though. Like I would probably rather have that all situated out before.
Get like the red tape out of the way.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Can't you start cultivating a relationship when you guys match? Are you not allowed to like
Depends on the agency. I believe it depends on the agency.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into that in a minute, but okay, so when it comes to the meeting or whatever, was it a supervised meeting for both of you, or was it just
the entire meeting?
Yeah, the whole meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And did you guys appreciate that? Like, did it feel like it was like a nice buffer?
I think so. I didn't really feel anything.
Yeah.
They were just there. Like, we didn't really need them there because we were talking a lot, but I think it's nice to have them in case it gets quiet. Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah, I think like both times, like the agency rep being there was just kind of like they were just there to facilitate communication or like just to be there. Like here you guys are. And then for like people that are talkative, I just think it's like relatively easy to talk to people. I think it would be harder if you don't speak the same language as your IPs.
Right.
Totally.
But I always did, so I have. So.
That was nice.
Yeah. And in the meeting, like, were your partners with you guys, or was it just you individually with the couple?
So I have a boyfriend and we don't live together, so it was just me.
Oh, okay. Okay, because you guys don't live together. Okay, got it.
So it was just me. It was nice. He was brought up in the conversation. I think it would have been nice if he was next to me.
Yeah.
But besides that, it was just me. Yeah.
Okay.
But then later on, he was brought up. Like there was questions after because they didn't get to see him. So they're like, "Oh, would he be okay getting STD tested?" And so for on. I'm like, "Oh wait." Now they're concerned about him. You know, they like me, but now they want to know who's the second person.
Yeah.
I feel like in that case, even if you're not living together, if that's your partner in whatever form, like they should be involved in it because that's a great question that they're gonna have, and like who better to ask than the source itself.
And that's your support people. Like usually your significant other is your biggest supporter. Like, you would think
So
they
yeah,
want
that's what I thought about too.
Hmm.
The second journey, I think I'm gonna invite him over. I'm gonna be, I have a boyfriend, he doesn't live with me, but I think you guys need to meet him before you even
Oh,
match.
good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's smart. Amanda, was your husband with you?
For the first one, he was. For the second one, like he wasn't. And like he's talked to them now, like he's been on video chat with them now, but like we went a good deal of the I think he was on the road at the time because he's a truck driver. So I think he was just like on the road when I had that first call.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean he had to do like the psych evaluation and all that kind of stuff after the fact, but yeah, they didn't meet him right away.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
And way back in the day, it was required.
Yeah.
Your spouse, your significant other, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whomever it was, had to come with you. Had to. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, they didn't request anything from him. It was the intended parents that asked for the testing.
Oh wow.
And it was part of our contract that they could ask whenever they wanted for STDs.
For both of you?
For him, for me, yes, but especially for him.
Wow.
Wait, they could ask at any point during the journey, one time, two times, three times?
Yes. So that was our contract, that he has to get tested when it was requested. Luckily, that never happened. That would have been kind of interesting.
Okay.
But yes, they wanted to make sure that he will go and get tested and that he will stay faithful.
Yeah.
That in case, I think some contracts have that, but they wanted to make sure that he will stay faithful and that he will let me know if he had anything going on.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, and that he was gonna get tested at any time.
But they never asked.
I think he had 3 days from the time that it was requested. He had 3 days to go and get tested.
Okay. And they never asked him to do it.
They never asked him to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Might just be in there for safety because you never know what comes up. I mean, I get that.
Yeah, he's a boyfriend, so you don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know what he's doing.
Aw.
I think like because they test us,
Mhm.
I think like that requesting the partner to like randomly get tested, that's something in my contract. This time I was like, we're married, we're monogamous, like, you know, and it was like within 24 hours they wanted us to get tested. And I was like, that's just like really like, that's like a time constraint thing. That's like a pain in the, I was like, how about, so we changed all the wording in my contract to if my OBGYN thought it like suspicious or like maybe I should like by symptoms or something.
Okay. Oh, that was good. Way better.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Huh.
That's fair. Well, what are some things, like, were there things in particular that you ladies like brought up in your matching conversations, like questions that you had that were like important to you or that you wanted to know about the couple?
Honestly, like that was my mistake. I feel like I didn't ask a lot of questions. I felt like I was the one being asked a lot of questions, and that's where I went wrong. I wished I would ask more because it seems like I wanted to be the surrogate. I was like, and actually, it should have been the opposite. It should have been very neutral. They asked me a lot of questions while we were in the meeting, and then they even asked more. Like, you know, like, what does she eat? Or not, like, can you ask Sandra what she eats? So can you like have her say what she eats for lunch, breakfast, snacks? And I'm like, wait, we're not having the call anymore, and we're still asking questions.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, they wanted like a example of what I eat in a day.
Did they
skincare and stuff? And I was like, wait, this is a lot going on. But yeah, I was just following along with it. I was like, okay, I'll keep answering. Hopefully they pick me after all of this. And they did.
Well, good. But yeah, but that was your first time being a surrogate, right, Sandra?
Yeah, that was my first time. And I wished I would have asked more questions like, what do you guys like to do for fun? Like things like that. So I could see if I actually match with them. Because I don't think we actually have anything in common.
Aww.
So like, so it was kind of like interesting. Like I feel like a little like a little girl, like, you know, like
Yeah.
next like, oh, pick me, please pick me.
Yeah.
But it was my first time, and they didn't tell me, oh, ask them about what they like to do, like things like that. I didn't think about it. It was more like, do you want me to breastfeed, stuff like that.
Oh, it
Okay.
was all things
Yeah.
pertaining to the
Surrogacy.
Yeah, but nothing like outside of surrogacy.
right.
Yeah.
And I should have probably asked more things. It would have been nice to get to know them before saying yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now you know, and that's I think the hard part is like being a first time surrogate, like you don't know what to ask. There's not like a sheet. Like what should we ask? So that's why we're doing this, because what should we ask?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just would have been nice to know.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I got lucky. I got very lucky.
Good. Good.
Good.
Good.
How about you, Amanda?
So, like my first match, I was with Circle Surrogacy, and of course, my first match was my first and second journey. So we talked a ton. Like we talked about background and all the things, and you know, like I was very much, I wanted a gay couple. I didn't want, like, I was very serious about not wanting Christians. Like I was like, you know, I had like requirements for my couple, and they checked all those boxes. And like in that way, I was like, yes, and we jived and we got along. Like, you know, when I was pregnant with their second, I went to visit them with Ray. Like we went on a trip, like we hung out for like a full day. Like we vibed very well. My second couple, my one requirement was really like I did want a gay couple, but I wasn't stuck on that. And then I wanted non-Christian. And I was just like, I was touched by their story, but I didn't know what to ask because I never asked anything the first time besides personality stuff.
Right.
You know, besides like, do we vibe? Do we feel good together? And like with my second couple here, I feel like we vibe. Like the parents are so sweet. The mom is like a sweet angel, and I love her, and she's so caring. But they only had 3 embryos left, and I didn't ask if they were tested.
Oh.
So we've had 2 failed transfers, and they have 1 embryo left, and I'm their second surrogate. They had a surrogate before me that had 3 failed transfers. And at the time I was like, wow, what happened that there were failed transfers? And they were like, well, she pooped out the estrogen pills whole. This is the story. Now, I'm just going to say, now that I've had some time to simmer on it, it's suspicious. And I don't think it was suspicious coming from the IPs. I think it was suspicious coming from the clinic. Because as I've gone through now and had 2 failed transfers, and obviously, like, I'm not pooping out pills and, you know, all the things, like, I'm just like,
were the embryos tested?
the embryos weren't tested. So they're untested. So I didn't even know until I was at my first transfer that it was an untested, that they were untested.
Okay.
And then, you know, I was like, okay, 1-time failure or whatever. The second time was just recently. And, you know, the intended mom was like, nobody ever even suggested that we test the embryos.
Really? Oh, I feel like they're being set up to fail.
Yeah. And so like
Aww.
and I don't know how I would have, if I had known to ask, hey, are your embryos tested? What are they graded? Like all the things.
Yeah.
Like the last time it was like 2 men, and I got the best embryo of the bunch that was tested from a young egg donor and the whole thing. And then I got the other dad's best embryo, like just right in there, just stuck in there, no big deal. This time, you know, the egg donor is a family, you know, and
their family?
Their family.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the mother's family member,
Okay.
sister. And the eggs were tested and the sperm was tested, but once they became embryos, they weren't tested.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I didn't
But
know to even ask that. And I'm like,
yeah.
if I had known that, would I have said no? Like, I don't know.
Well,
Right.
maybe it would have given just a little bit more thought because 3 failed transfers prior with untested. And here we go, like, right? Like, I'm not saying you would have said no, but it would might have explained, and maybe they could have done a different, like, gotten different embryos and had them tested. I know it's
Or because Amanda, you had said, like, I mean, everything's always a learning thing, but like you had said, like your IPs, that was never brought up to them, like to even get them tested. So asking the question might have, if it didn't do anything to your thinking or whatever, it might have done something to theirs, and they would
Yeah.
have been like, tested. Well, wait, let's look into this. I don't understand. Like, why would we get them tested? Do you know what I mean?
but it could have made a light bulb go off in their head and go, oh
That's what I'm
wait,
saying.
maybe that's why we had 3 failed, because we didn't test and make
That's
sure
what I'm
that they were
saying.
viable. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's just so many spectrums on that one, but my heart goes out to them, really, seriously.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
oh, that's a
Well,
rough
and I
one.
am finding out, like, the more I talk to surrogates, the more I'm like, yes, you have to care about your intended parents. You have to, like, feel for them, connect to them, all the things.
Yeah.
However, you do have to be concerned about your own success or failure,
You
because
do. Yes.
transfers that fail look bad on you.
They
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not fair. And that's also something that I mean, like, I don't know how you would bring that up in a match conversation, like, because of your situation in particular, right? The previous surrogate had how many failed?
3.
3.
3. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So like, and then it's like, okay, well, wait. So if she had 3 failed, what's gonna happen if I like, there's
Well,
I it's
I I might go with the agency probably needed to get involved in that. And if that, I think if I was doing surrogacy now, knowing all this information and what I know before, I would have probably said to the agency, I'm not going to do any transfers unless eggs are tested, unless embryos are
Well,
tested.
and that's kind
Right.
of like where we are, because I did
Okay.
bring my agency into it and say,
good.
hey, I am feeling like garbage.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
But it's like, thinking about it now, it's like, would I have gone with a different, had I even asked? I
Right.
never even thought to ask.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think
Where
Right.
would you?
a lot of us are giving, you know what I mean? A
Yeah.
lot of, like, that's why we get into this, to help
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
And we don't think about necessarily repercussions for ourselves, like emotionally, physically, all the things that come with it. Like, we don't necessarily think about, are these the best candidates for us? Because even Sandra said,
Right.
like, I
Right.
just wanted them to pick me.
Mhm.
And,
I want it.
Yeah.
it's
Right.
like,
So
you
Yeah.
do want to be
think
picked.
that's a criteria then that surrogates need to kind of think about ahead of
Yeah.
time. Like,
Mhm.
if you want a gay couple, if you want an international couple, you want the eggs tested, like we'll make a little checklist and then put it on here. But I think that's a big one. A big one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do. I know it costs
Yeah.
money to get the eggs tested, but don't you, I would want to go in with knowing all the things, like
Yeah.
knowing, and then if it fails, well, okay, then maybe something happened there, maybe whatever, just wasn't gonna split
Right.
or wasn't gonna keep dividing and blah blah. But I think that's important, especially in this day and age with the technology the way it is. Like I said to you guys before, way back when they didn't test nothing, they just graded them. And they're like, okay,
Yeah.
you got 8, you got 1s, you got 3s, you got 5s, you got 7s, let's put the 7s in. Like, and that's how they did it. No science involved at all, they just graded them. Yeah, now there's all kinds of stuff,
Mhm.
so use it.
I
Use
know.
it.
I just think about Ellen with your, we're just stick those in
We're
and
just
see what happens.
Yeah. Well, like, we made a decision to put 4 in just sitting in a room. I'm in a gown. We're like, there's 4. They're not that great. So let's put 1 in, hope we get 1. Okay. Like, no
20 years
discussion,
ago.
no
Right.
nothing, right?
Crazy.
Nothing. Weird.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big thing. I think it's important to find out what those quality of those eggs are. And the way you're going to do that is test, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and how would you ask that politely though in a meeting where it's not coming off offensive? Like,
I
do you
wouldn't ask in the
just
match
say
meeting. I wouldn't ask in the match meeting. I would make that known to the agency ahead of time.
before you're matched with somebody, like, hey, I
Yes.
want to match with somebody who's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and
Yes.
also I
Yes.
would like their eggs to be, or their embryos to be tested.
Yeah.
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 And
So what
that's how it,
happened- Mhm.
oh,
I'm sorry.
Zach.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, yeah, that is a good like pre-matching thing,
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
match. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what happened to me when we were having our match call, I didn't know that they had a surrogate in the past. I was going to be their second one. I am their second one, right? Because I already did it.
Yeah.
And they didn't write that anywhere in their profile, nothing. It was, we didn't know. And she lost 4 embryos. So I was like, wait a minute. As the first time, I was like, what does that mean? Like, does that
Right.
mean that I'm gonna lose an embryo?
Oh,
I don't know what,
right.
like, I didn't never seen an embryo before. I mean, like, I've seen it, like,
Yeah.
but I'm like, what does that mean? Like, how it's gonna come out? Like, what's gonna happen? I never miscarried before, so I'm like clueless.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they had 3 left, and I was so scared. I said yes, with still that in my mind. They had lost 4.
Wow.
And I said yes. And then once I met with their doctor and everything, I asked them, I'm like, is it gonna happen to me too? I was so scared. I went,
Blame you.
yeah, I was so scared. Is it gonna happen to me too? I don't know why, but the day of the transfer, it all went away. I was like, it's gonna work.
Good.
And it did.
Good.
So they were all tested. All of them were good, but
Okay.
I don't know what things happen, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Things happen.
and I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, I'm like, what if they were not tested? I would have been so scared. But luckily they were tested and it was great. It was just, things happen with the surrogate, I guess. She was having
Yeah.
complications. But I was like, I'm so happy for the technology that I at least know that the embryo was okay and
Yeah.
the quality.
Agreed.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
exactly. And okay, so along those lines of like embryos tested and everything like that, I mean, I was always told that before I matched with people, but what's something that I did ask is because I don't know why this was always brought up in my meetings, but how do you I'm trying to think of not extraordinary measures. What's it called? Oh, like doing unnecessary procedures unless they're required by the OB or by the IVF clinic. So like, like amnios and all that kind of stuff. Because it was important to me personally that I don't mess with anything unless I medically have to, because there are some people who want to get extra testing, but I'm not that kind of person. And so that's something that I brought up in my match meetings. I don't know if that was talked in your guys' match meetings. I don't know if that's common, but that's something that I've run into.
Yeah.
That wasn't actually talked about. Like for me, the first couple was gay, so they were men. So like a lot of it was like, you've been pregnant before, we trust you. And even my couple now is like, you've been pregnant before, you're a surrogate, you know what you're doing, you know more about this process than we do.
Right.
And like when amnio time, when it was like brought up, like you could get an amnio done right now, my OBGYN was like straight up like, these embryos were tested. Like there is no reason for an amnio. Like you can get the blood work done and it shows you almost exactly what an amnio does nowadays. Amnios are hardly ever done. Like it was very much like the doctor was like, because the dads were like, we want to know everything. And I was like, I don't want a giant needle in my belly. Like I just don't. Like, no, thank you. That sounds awful. And my OBGYN was like, we'll take care of this. So like on the phone, they were like, the blood work's fine. Like we'll follow that and whatever.
Good. So you had your OB advocating for you to not have to go through some extra testing, right? Sometimes it's written in the contracts, but that's prior, match, that happens after matching. So if those hard topics aren't talked about in matching,
right,
and people are agreeing it's going to be in a contract or not, that's where it gets a little dicey, I think.
Yeah.
Because everybody just wants, like Sandra said, pick me. Like everybody just wants to keep it going and not ruffle any feathers. And then when contracts come, you can get stalled. Because
I think I think surrogates are oftentimes like the yes girls, like, like, let's, let's do it. I'm good with that. And then maybe we'll sit back and think about it after we said yes. And we're like, wait, I really just wanted to like do it, but wait, hold on. I've thought about it and I don't like that. Like we're the first ones to jump and say, yeah, let me carry your baby. Like, I'll do it.
Right.
So, but there's a lot of thought that we have to put behind it in order to know exactly what we're getting into. And unfortunately, we all have to go through some hard times sometimes to figure out, okay, what should I ask? What is normal? What is not normal? What is, and that's how we help each other. But it's a bummer that we all have to go through it at some point
And figure it out. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah. So like getting certain tests done, embryos, amnios, stuff like that. Do you guys ask, well, Sandra, you said no, there wasn't a lot of like personality questions and stuff like that. But I mean, Amanda, I don't know if you've ever, I don't know in your matchings if you asked like, hey, like, what do you like to do for fun? Do you guys like to go on hikes? Do you guys like, what movies do you like? Like, what's your favorite color? I mean, I don't know.
Do you get some of that from the profile that you read?
Right.
Way
Well,
back
some
when we did.
profiles are not all built the same.
Okay.
Like my previous couple, they had like the most beautiful profile. It was pages and pages. Like the one dad wrote about the other dad, and it was just this gorgeous, lovely beautifulness, and like their whole story from when they met to like where they are today. But my current couple, their profile was like literally like hardly anything, some pictures. It was like, so I didn't know much about them at all. So like I asked so many questions to just kind of get like the vibe from them. And I have to say that like I got a vibe, but I couldn't say that like I know them much better now
Sure.
than I did then. But I asked them questions like, what do they like to do for fun? And like, they live in Europe, and I think Europeans just do so much more fun stuff than we do.
Yeah.
They
Right.
totally do.
Go to the
so,
Louvre
like,
one day. Yeah.
Right. Like they
Eiffel Tower.
travel and do all the things, and it was so wonderful. And I think a lot of what we talked about too was like expectation of communication. Like,
Oh, that's a good one.
How involved do you want to be in each other's lives
Before
forever?
and after. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before and after.
So we talked about that right away. And like for my first couple, I was seriously like, whatever you think, whatever. Like if you guys want this to be business, like I was almost like, it could be business. Now, realistically, now I know that was unrealistic.
Yeah.
And that's not how it is. But like with my current couple, I said, like there is expectation of like you will be super involved in the pregnancy. Like I will keep you super involved.
Yeah.
And then I do, I would like the same kind of relationship that I have with my current surrogate babies, like that I get updates, that I get to talk to them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did they react to that? They were cool?
They were cool.
Good.
They liked that idea.
Perfect.
Because one day the child's going to ask.
Well, maybe if they tell the child.
True.
Oh dear. Yes.
Some
That's
don't.
true. That's true.
So I'm curious because both of you have gone with different agencies, maybe even with 2 agencies. So when it comes to matching, do you guys get to look at profiles, or is your profile sent out?
Right.
Mine was sent out.
Yours was sent out, Sandra?
Yeah, mine was sent out, and then actually I got matched with the intended parents because they send it out. They are able to release it to third parties. So like there's
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so there's someone, they hire someone to find a surrogate that match their likes. Like so pretty much that is the reason why our matching, I don't think we had a lot in common because it was based on like, is she local? Does she live in Santa Monica? Pretty much like those little things that they probably wanted. They wanted me to live in LA near Santa Monica. So I was one of them. So a third party got my profile, and then they told me, hey, we have this intended parents looking for a surrogate in LA. And I got to see it, and I said yes, of course. And from there on, I kept saying yes. They never stopped.
You're the yes girl. I feel that. I understand that. Okay, so yours was sent through a third party, which is more common these days that I'm finding out because yeah. So okay, but you got to see their profile before you agreed to like doing like a meeting.
Yes, and if I like them according to the like looking at their profile, then I said yes, and they set up the meeting.
Okay, and what if you had said no, Sandra?
Then I would have got a new profile sent to me. Yeah, they were not gonna force me to like say yes, but since I was a first time surrogate, I think they knew I was gonna say yes.
Probably just a little.
They knew.
Yeah. Amanda, what about you with Circle?
So they sent me a profile. The first profile I didn't end up going with. I didn't even have a match meeting because they had a situation where they needed to make more embryos and they needed to find a new egg donor. So, or they needed to make, I don't know. It was just like there was going to be a long delay in the process. So I didn't even do a match meeting.
Okay.
So they sent me, and like, I'm not saying the vibe was wrong for the first couple, but like from their profile, I wasn't like super like, oh yeah. I mean, I wanted to meet them. I was like, sure. But they were like from Sweden or something. I don't know. So then my second couple that they sent, like, of course they had this beautiful, gorgeous profile. And I was like, absolutely. And so we did the match meeting. I don't know if they looked at my profile and picked me or if they sent the people to me. Like, I don't know how it worked. Like, I don't know if they only sent people that were interested in me.
Interesting. Yeah.
Or if I was the one that was picking. Like if I was the Bumble girl, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd have to go back and listen to Sam's podcast because we interviewed him from Circle, and I think he answered that because that's always a question that we ask agencies, like, do you send them out or do we look at them? Because I personally prefer to look at them. I want to know.
Right. You don't want to be out there in the world.
I want to choose.
Yeah.
I want to choose. It's my body. It's gonna be a long journey. I gotta be comfortable with these people.
Yes.
And for my first journey, they gave me the profile. And I was just like, sure, well, they gave me a profile. They didn't speak English. And I was like, no, like, that's not what I want. And also they were a heterosexual couple. And I was like, no, I need a gay male couple. Like, that's who I would like to work with. And then the second couple they sent me and we met, and that was fine. And then my second couple, I got to pick out of profiles. And then my third couple, I was just reached out to and asked to work with. So that was a whole other situation.
My first one was given to me. You felt like you had to take it. So I did. I was like, oh yeah, I want to do it. I want to do it. Second one, I said, yeah, no, we're not doing this. I had them send me profiles. I sent them back. I don't want any of those. I don't want to work with any of those. And they sent me a second set. And I picked one from there. So I think I looked at 8 total.
And that was I want to emphasize this. That was the
triplets. Yeah. And that profile jumped off the page. That's what I was looking for. I was like, oh, hello, we're already friends. Yeah. And then the third one, I did pick. It was slim pickings back then. I'm not trying to be mean or nasty. It was just nobody really fit what I wanted. So I just took a couple. I was aging out, so I had to hurry it up. Yeah. I just took a couple.
And oh my gosh, wait, Amanda, I'm sorry. You went with the second agency because your third. Yes. This journey now is not with Circle. So how did that work?
Okay, so my person that runs the agency, she was like, I have a couple that I think you would like. It's not exactly what you were asking for, but they're willing to pay what you're asking. And I was like, word. So because I was shooting for the stars in what I asked for. And so I was like, okay. So she gave me the profile, which again was Slim Pickens' profile, but I was like, I'm willing to talk to them. Obviously, they're not exactly what I want. I said, but they're not, like, the only reason why they're not is because they're a heterosexual couple. I said, if I vibe with the woman, if I vibe with them, I'm cool. So yeah, so that was a big thing for me. So the match call, it could have been a no. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, cool. And I completely get that because you had worked with a same-sex male couple, and that was your comfortability level. And so stepping out of that a little bit is a little bit it's just like the what if box. Like, wait, what's it gonna be like? And I'm so happy to hear that it's, you know, the couple themselves are great people. Like
that's
Yeah.
good. That's important. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how people tend to get matched. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, either they send yours out or they send theirs out. I don't really.
But you are allowed to ask to see more than one profile. You
Yeah.
are. That's your
And
right.
Yeah,
It's your right. Yeah.
it is. I think that it's important to see more than one profile. I
Mhm.
mean, it would be nice if, like, you know, because it's kind of like going on Bumble or whatever those are, in the sense of like, well, I would like to see just a couple, because surrogates, like I said, we're yes girls, and we are going to be like, oh my God, look, they have 5 of the 10 things that I like. Okay, but what if the next couple had 9 of the 10 things? You
Right.
know,
Right.
you just don't know. And so I don't think it's really fair to just be like, here's a couple. And it's like, but I don't want to say no. I just want to say, hey, what else is out there?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I want to say real quick that I also asked them, both couples, one of the things I asked them was their family relationships, like to make sure
Perfect.
that they had a support system, because like they
Good
want to
one.
make sure we have a support system.
Mhm.
But I thought it was really important to make sure that they had a support system and like a strong family structure, because surrogacy is strange,
Yep.
Mhm.
you know, and if you have family that's looking at it like it's strange, that's not really like an easy way for your kids to live. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Right.
I
Um,
agree. I
And
agree. I do just also want to say, before I forget, that in every meeting that I've had, I have said it on my profiles now, but I have also made it known, because we talk about it on here a lot, that it's important for me, especially back then when I had such a young child. He's still young, but that it was important for me to be able to say hello and goodbye with, you know, with the surrogate baby, with just me and my family, so we could just have
Right.
our moments, because you don't know how a journey's going to go.
Right.
And I just wanted to make sure that they were comfortable with it, and they were. And, you know, therefore when the contracts came, it wasn't really like I'm
An
demanding
issue.
it. Like, they
Right.
knew where it was coming from.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make a good point with that. I wish I would have asked the parents that,
Mm.
because we never talked about it until the day of.
Oh,
So, it was so weird. I thought that I don't know, in my head, everything seemed like it was beautiful, but the day of like the baby was coming out, and I can't remember it, but my boyfriend told me like not that long ago, we were talking about a second journey, like what we like and we don't like. Every journey is beautiful, but there's some things that you don't want for your next one.
Yes.
So, as the baby was coming out, he made a comment that I did not hear him because I was in the moment of pushing the baby out. And he said that he only wanted me to carry the baby. And I did not hear him. So when I was carrying the baby, you know, they had their own time with the baby in the room. I had him, and I asked the mom, can my boyfriend carry the baby? She didn't hear the comment that he had made. So she gave my boyfriend the baby, and the dad just made the most ugliest look.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I
that's
felt
weird.
so
wow.
bad. And my boyfriend kept saying, no, 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 no. And I'm like, no, hold the baby. This is
Yeah.
like, this is your reward, you know, like, even though it's not yours,
Yeah.
you work so hard, you know, like
Yeah.
you need to hold this baby. And he kept
Wow.
saying no. And I asked him, I'm like, why you kept saying no when you were supposed to hold baby A?
Mm. Yeah.
And he said, because dad said he didn't want no one to carry the baby besides you. And I was so heartbroken. Like, I wanted to cry even though it had happened so long ago. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how can you do that? Like,
Yeah.
he worked so hard to bring your baby to this world, and you're not gonna allow him to just hold the baby. He's not gonna take your baby away. He just wants to hold the baby to see, you know, like just to see him.
Yeah.
So that's a really nice thing to make sure you are in the same page, because
Yeah. It's a
it's a
big thing.
special moment, and you don't want it to get ruined without, you
It,
know, like
it's a special moment for both parties, not just for the family
yeah,
receiving their baby, but for you and your family as well. Like,
yeah.
look at the journey that you all just did. I
Mhm.
understand the intended parents have been waiting a really long time,
Yeah.
but you I hate to say it, gave up your life for about a year if it all goes well on the first transfer, and your children and your support system and whoever was supporting you should be able to have a closure on that one. They should be able to.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, when you had said, ask them what their family support is, I think a big question too is, are you keeping this a secret from family and friends? Are you doing it alone? Are you just going to present this baby 9 months from now or a year from now and say, oh, look what we got? Like, me personally don't think that's healthy, but that would be something I would need to ask and know, because if your family can't enjoy it and you can't share this with them, why are you keeping it a secret? Because they're not supportive. So yeah, it goes along with what Amanda had said, but I think that's a big one too.
That's a good point. Yes. And I feel like maybe they weren't sharing it so much. And I don't know, maybe the dad didn't really understand what surrogacy was. Like, he probably feel like she might get attached if she sees the boyfriend with the baby. I'm like, no.
Oh God.
We don't want kids, so no. Like, we don't want that. We're happy. We're like, he's out. We're able to take trips now. We're able to do everything. But it was just a little confusing for me. I was like, why he keep saying no? Like, and I was like, now I understand. And now I think it's best for me to ask those questions.
Yes,
like,
it is. Yep.
Can my boyfriend hold the baby? Can anybody hold the baby? Anybody that's with me should be allowed to hold the baby. I think that they work really hard. I'm a little wild one when I'm in labor. I think they deserve to hold the baby. They work so hard rubbing my back.
But it's true. I mean, your support system, I mean,
Huge.
you know, when I didn't have a partner when I had all of my surrogate babies. But I had my mom and I had my dad, and my brother came, and my sister-in-law and my kid, and you know, we got to meet everybody got to meet two of the babies. The last baby, it was during COVID, so that's a different story, but everybody got to meet two of the babies, and you know, that's what I need for me to be able to have closure on my journeys. And so and then were you gonna say something, Mom?
Nope.
Okay.
I was.
I wrote down two things while we were talking. Okay, delivery.
Yeah.
Did you guys talk about delivery during the match? Because what I'm seeing is that it's not talked about in the match so much, and it's talked about right beforehand. Or it's talked about at contracts, and that's where it gets awkward. So that's something that I've learned that I need to talk about in a match, is like, I want to have something in the contract that says I get to decide who's in there and when they get to come in. And it's delivery is very intimate, it's very vulnerable, and I should have full control because it's my body.
Yeah.
You may have some intended parents that shy away from that though, because this is their baby. They want to be there. They want to experience it. And they don't want somebody to like pin, and I'm just visualizing. They don't want to be on pins and needles. Just, oh my gosh, is this surrogate going to be so upset with us, or have something happen and she's not going to let us in the room. So it's very delicate situation. And it has to be treaded lightly, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. But the more that it's talked about, the better off it is. We just talked to an agency, or I forget the name of it. I apologize. It'll come to me. But they do it at like 20 weeks. They start talking about a birth plan.
Oh, Northwest.
Northwest.
Circle
Okay.
does that too.
Okay.
Circle?
So nothing's talked about ahead of time. It's just talked about around the 20th week.
Yeah, Circle, like they send out like forms
Okay.
for you and the intended parents to go over to talk about like, and like, again, I was with two dads and they were like, obviously, like whatever you want to do, like they were not controlling in the least. And I was like, I don't want you filming my vagina.
Right.
Like that's a hard no. But you can be down there looking at your baby coming out. I'm totally cool with that, you know. Right. I said I want you involved in the delivery. But by that point we had built a relationship. I think it is hard to say at the match meeting, like, how comfortable am I gonna have? Am I gonna be with you near my vagina?
Right.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, in my last journey, well, In my last journey, you know, the IM was in the room, and the IF was not, and I just wasn't comfortable with him being in there, amongst other things. But you know, it was, there's things, I can't say what they were, but there are things in the contract that I couldn't go against,
Right.
in the sense of I really had no say over who was in that room.
Right. So it is important. So Amanda, then it wasn't in your contract. It was a
Right.
separate birth plan.
It's not in my current contract either.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
not in my current contract either, because it does pretty much say, as far as almost everything is up to me and my doctor.
Okay.
That's
That's
fantastic.
how my contract is worded, that, you know, I get final say over my body.
Good.
Great.
And that it's my doctor. Like, there was a lot of things, like the agency could ask for a drug test, or anybody and their brother could ask for, and then I just was like, no. If
No.
my doctor thinks it's necessary, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if I'm on the phone with the IPs with like a bottle of rum in my hand or something, like,
Right.
Then
obviously
sure.
that would be concerning. But like,
Yeah.
when would they ever just be like, oh, we need to drug test her right now? Like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
you know, and other things like that. It was just like both of the contracts, like, my current contract is just very much like it lets me, and this contract I went over like with a fine-tooth comb, versus my last contract, I found out there were a whole bunch of things in there I didn't even know about. Like, I didn't even, yeah. And the thing is, like, it's not like any of them ever came up.
Right.
Yeah.
But if they would have, like,
Crazy.
there was something in my last contract I didn't even know existed. And I pulled it up to compare, and I was like, holy shit, like, what was I signing? Like, I was not, you know, when we're guest people, it's like, well, just,
Yeah.
sign away.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
And then this is something that I have to bring up in meetings now, and you know, now that surrogacy is becoming more social media, you know, it's important to bring that up in your match meeting, like, hey, are you guys okay with me, you know, documenting this journey? Like, I'm not gonna give any personal information about the baby, like the name, or you know, where you guys live, or your names, or anything like that. That's not at all what this is about. This is just about me getting the word out about surrogacy. You know, because some people aren't on board with that. And that's fine.
I brought it up.
Yeah.
And I told them, I'm like, how do you guys feel about social media? And the dad is like, no, don't even go there. So I was able, that's when they came in. They're like, okay, you know, most surrogates like to record themselves through their journey, post pictures. It's okay for her to post her journey,
Yeah.
but she won't post your journey. You can't take that away from her. Like, that is her
Good.
life.
Good.
That's
so it
good.
was in the contract. Yeah, it was in the contract that I could post my journey.
Good.
So if whatever it was, like if I was to miscarry, whatever it was that will happen,
It's your journey.
I could post it. They
Okay.
can't stop me from
Good.
like, but the only thing is I cannot release their name, neither can I talk about them or like what got them to be,
Right.
you know, being a surrogate. I mean, I
Yeah.
could talk little details, but they do not want no private information about them.
Right. No, it's no identifiers, like nothing that can like identify them like on the streets or anywhere. Like it's their privacy. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's fair. That's totally fair, unless they agree and they want to document as well.
Yeah, and they
Exactly.
did not. They never talked about. I see them, and
Yeah.
they're the baby is like never was here. Like they haven't put anything about him yet, so it's okay.
Yeah.
We're not linked. Like, I guess that's what they didn't want to. Maybe they didn't want us to be like, oh, she's the surrogate and I'm there. You know, like just apart. Because they didn't know what social media, how big it could have been. Like, what if I would have got 1 million followers? Now we have this baby, you know, and they're like, we prefer not to.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. So these are some questions that that everybody sent in. So somebody asked if they had an opinion, if the IPs had an opinion right away on having a sibling for a sibling journey and pumping, which are good. Those are good to know, especially pumping, I think.
Right. Sibling journey. Wow. I'd have to see how the first journey went before I'd agree to do a sibling journey. Like, right? Or what has that,
Yeah.
was that
Yeah.
asked of you right away, Amanda, or was it after the first baby was born?
Well, I did tell you guys about this. My first journey, I was the first of two dual surrogate, like of a dual surrogacy. And
That's
then the
right.
dual surrogate, because of COVID, couldn't get a transfer.
Right.
So
That's right.
I wasn't originally set up for the sibling journey. They were going to be like 3 or 4 months apart, like,
Right.
which was insane. Like,
Yeah.
because I also felt like that was something my agency should have like made me aware of.
Yeah.
I was just gonna,
Yes.
I was just gonna add that. Like, did you know that it was gonna be a tandem journey?
Yes.
No, and when I found
Oh.
out, I was like, I felt like I was cheated on. Like
Yes.
it was, it was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough. And so they were matched with her up until like I gave birth, and 3 months later we were both talking, and they were like, we wouldn't mind if you did it, but we'd have to unmatch with her if she'd be okay unmatching. And she was chomping at the bit to get knocked up, because at this point
Right.
restrictions had been lifted. So they were like, now they had a newborn, they were exhausted, they weren't looking to add a new baby. But I think that was something like, hey, am I going to be a part of a tandem journey? I never even thought to ask that. I didn't even know that was
Right.
a thing, because to
Right.
me as a woman and mother, that's insane.
Yep.
I mean, if I was going to be a part of one if I had matched last December, and I had known that going in though, like the agency
Okay.
that I was with at the time, they were like, well, we don't hide these things. You guys have to know, and we would like you guys to then talk. We would like the surrogates to meet once and just be like, hey, you're a
Right.
person. Nice to know you. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so
I
that's
just know
important.
there's a competition. There's a competition there between surrogates. I know there doesn't mean to be one, but if they're spending more time and you're seeing more pictures on social media, or you're doing whatever, and they're referring, and maybe your connection's not as good, it just to me sets up some really unwanted and unnecessary stress and feelings. Like, hold on a second, I have 3 kids of my own I'm taking care of. She has 1, so yeah, she has more time than I do. Wait a minute, but I'm not going to neglect my kids to try and
Right.
foster this and beat her. Or whatever. It just, to me, it just doesn't seem, unless everybody knows about it and everybody's in agreement, it should never be sprung on anybody. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like when they tell you, do you want a first time parent or
Right.
Right.
And it's the same thing, because the excitement is different when they already have had a baby.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
more excited when it's the first baby. And then as a surrogate, you have to be able to choose. Like, I kind of want that excitement, or I'm kind of chill with them being experienced parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That all plays a big role. Like
does.
the experience that you want after
It does.
surrogate.
Yes,
No,
it does.
it does.
Mhm.
It does.
That's a good question to add to that list. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Somebody says to talk about all things in the contract, maybe what you might already know you want to change. So if you're like a repeat surrogate, or if you've looked up what are in surrogacy contracts, that's smart, because then
Yeah.
we kind of touched on that, because then you can talk about it in the meeting, and then when contracts come, it's not
Right.
To touch back on the breast milk thing,
Yeah.
the first go round, I was like, oh, I would be happy to pump, and like whatever you guys want. And they were like, and so we discussed later, like once we got that paper at 20 weeks or whatever, we discussed like I would pump my colostrum,
Okay.
but I
Okay.
wouldn't pump past then.
Sure.
Okay.
And so with my current couple, I was just like, I'll pump colostrum, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to, like, that's off the table. Like, I'm not
Okay.
interested in pumping and dealing with that.
Yeah.
I am so intended mother, how she's navigated or plans to navigate feelings while you're pregnant. I think that's a good question, and that might ease anybody who's going into, a surrogacy if they've already worked with the same sex couple and then going to heterosexual, because it's very different.
Very.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to put it.
I mean, I can speak on that a little bit. She wasn't it wasn't dealing with infertility.
Okay.
She was dealing with a health problem, like she can't carry a pregnancy
Got it.
because of another health reason. So for me, I felt like she chose her life over being pregnant.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's
You
fair.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think like that also made it a little different for me because I was like, okay, so she doesn't, yes, you have to grieve infertility,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
but it was like a
Different.
different kind. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
Yes, exactly. If the IPs require their surrogate to be or to get COVID vaccinated,
Ooh.
that's fair. I think that
I don't
think
even think
that
you'll
is
have the
more
match
so-
meeting if you,
Huh?
you don't disclose that ahead of time. Yeah. I don't
I
even
didn't
think
hear
there'll be a
you.
match. I don't think there'll be a match meeting if you don't disclose that ahead of time. I know it was hot and heavy the last couple of years and now it's kind of dying off, but I think that's something that's being asked when you
It-
go in.
It is. I mean,
Yeah.
when like recently when I mean, this whole time, I don't know if you ladies have had to do it, but I've had to send in my card because I am vaccinated. So they're like, well, if you are, then we need proof. And I'm like, okay, here you go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I got vaccinated and then I got a booster after having COVID for my second pregnancy. Like I got COVID even though I had already had the vaccines.
Wow.
So I still got COVID and then afterwards I got a booster. But like
Okay.
since then, like with my new couple, like it's in the contract about COVID, but like literally we've never discussed it.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Okay, number of transfers each party is willing to do. I mean, that's something that I've talked about prior to matching. You have to, I mean, every profile that I've read, I've had to put it on, but different agencies, different requirements.
I mean, I'm only speaking from when I did it, but they wanted a three transfer commitment.
That's what I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, for mine, it was the same thing. They were willing to have all three.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous, like, please let it work the first
Aw.
time, please. But they only had three, and in the contract it had three. I was like, oh man.
And like in Amanda's situation, like what Amanda said earlier, the three, it's like, okay, so if all three don't take, now that's going to be used against me, but I signed a contract saying I
Right.
would do this. So
Right.
how is that fair?
Right. That's a
How is
rough
that
one.
fair? Yeah,
Because she's a proven two-time. Like I would have that in her court. She's,
exactly.
if you're already a proven, and in that instance, I would actually say, well, their previous surrogate 3 times failed. Like that one I think can be rationalized away, but you're right, it is tough because if you agree to do 3
And you do 3.
and they do 3 and none of them take, that's a whole big old boatload of time on you that you've just done medications, you put your life on hold, all of that. It's a rough one, yeah. But I don't think I've ever seen anything that's below 3. Have you?
I've
Have
seen
you, Jen?
2.
2? Okay.
I thought 3 was like the standard.
The standard. That's what I thought. But
I mean, I think the 2 is just because one of the couples that I was talking to or whatever, they only had 2 embryos.
okay. Before they
So-
would have to make more. Okay,
Before
that
they
makes
would have to
sense. Yeah, it makes
It would
sense.
be nice. It'd be nice if it would be like optional, like, oh, like we'll discuss with the doctors. Because I feel like with the first surrogate, after losing 4, they should have been like, I think this is enough. Because they lost 4 embryos, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
a shame.
lot.
It is a lot. And I do know, and I want to make it clear that we've talked to lawyers and things like that. And it is possible to make your contract state like, okay, even though you're agreeing to 3, that you have the opportunity and the option to back out after the first failed transfer, after the second failed transfer. Like
Right.
you can change that part in your contract.
Right.
So that way you're not locked in at 3, because that could be a hard commitment if it actually has to come true.
Right.
So yeah.
And if it goes wrong after the first failed, yeah. If there's animosity there, or there's,
Right. 'Cause who knows how reactions will play out.
Right.
Okay,
Especially when they're not tested, the embryos, it's kind of
Oh.
like, you're like, oh, wait, we're going to go for a second, a third, a fourth. Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. If the IPs are okay with a VBAC and trusting you to deliver
Do
with
it.
midwives.
Ah,
Oh,
twofold. Woo.
I only had vaginal, so
Yeah.
I've never done a VBAC, but I mean, I know surrogates who have done VBACs and those who want to do VBACs. And I know that there's like, there's some requirements that you have to fall under in order to be eligible to do a VBAC.
Right. And it also, your OB has their own set of rules too.
Yes.
They won't let you do it. Wow, that's an interesting one. And midwives, whoo, that's even more touchy.
I know doulas.
Yeah,
Doulas
like
are,
I think a doula is different than a midwife. Like a midwife, like most of my kids were delivered by midwives because most of the OBGYN groups that I've used, like, well, I've only used two, they have doctors and they have midwives who are certified nurse practitioners / midwives. Like they're not like, like a doula is more like a support person.
correct.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they have a certificate, but they're not necessarily medically able to deliver in like a high, like most midwives are nurses. Like they're not just like, the neighborhood old lady that comes to your house and helps you pass the baby out.
Right. They're certified CPR and all these other things. Yeah.
But again, being surrogates have had a child, so they have been through it. They know what they're comfortable with. So if having a midwife, but being either in the same complex or very close to a hospital that transportation could happen if something, God forbid, ever went wrong, like I think that would put intended parents at ease if a surrogate really wants to go midwife range or a midwife.
Like birthing center or something like that.
Right. Yep. Now, home births, I'm not all for, but that's me. I think too much can go wrong. Yeah. But midwives, yeah. And in some instances, there's more availability of a midwife than a doctor on call. I'd rather deal with a midwife who I've seen than a doctor who just comes flying in because he's on call and doesn't know anything about me. Yeah.
Right. And then one of the last ones that we have is, how big were the IPs as babies? It's important.
Oh my
This
God,
one's important
I
for
never
me.
asked that.
That's what
I
they said.
never even thought that, but that's a great question.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Did we not cover anything? I mean, I think majority of the questions. Normally this is talked about, but sometimes it's not. What appointments do the IPs want to physically attend if they're not local? Like, because we all know the 5-minute appointments are not worth the travel time, but like the anatomy scan, absolutely, and as the baby gets bigger, maybe a 4D ultrasound or something like that. But or if you're a surrogate and IP who are like, every single appointment, that's, you guys got to be on the same page with that, because that's going to be a lot of communication and seeing one another and making time. It's a lot. So
I did ask my intended mother and father about that, and since they were local, they went to every appointment. So
that's crazy.
At first they said they'll go based on their schedule, see what happens, but they went to everything.
Well, they asked for somebody very local, so I kind of cued me in right there that they wanted to be pretty damn involved.
And I deliver in the local hospital, and that is also my local hospital.
Oh my gosh, they're close by then. Have you seen this baby since he was born?
I saw him when he was 3 months.
Okay. All right.
My kids got to see him, and my mom got to hold him because she didn't get to hold him the day of. They didn't want no one to hold the baby. So my mom got to hold the baby for the first time when he was 3 months.
Okay. I'm glad they made time for that. Good.
That was really nice. Yeah. It was really nice. But definitely gonna ask that next journey. I think it's special to me to see my family seeing the baby. It's just very special. But I didn't have no problems with appointments. It was really nice to have them there. They were
good.
Felt like we were all like, a cute couple, like, like, oh, come in, and it was nice. It was nice to have them enjoy their baby.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
And I really hope that like other surrogates or first-time surrogates or thinking of being surrogates, like I want there to be like people listening to this. So like you think, because you don't know. And like I know there are so many more of us out here that are really sharing and like all of the things, but like you don't know what you don't know.
Totally.
Yeah. Right.
And every step of the way, there's something that it's like, if you could redo it, especially if it's a hard journey, you know, it's good to know these things. So thank you so much for having us talk about these
Yeah.
things.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's,
it's really
it's
nice.
huge, I think.
Like, I wish I would have seen this, and I would be like, okay, this is
Oh,
what I'll do. I'll be writing things down. Now I know, but it's nice to talk to other surrogates.
Yeah.
Like, especially even
Agreed.
with experience, there's so much out there, so much
There
knowledge.
is.
there
Yeah.
is. And every journey, I mean, people say it and it's becoming a cliche, but like
Yeah.
you talk to 18 surrogates and not one of them is the same. Like
Mm-mm.
every story that you hear
Yep.
will teach you something new. We'll give you a new question to ask. We'll give you something new to think about. Well, you know, just all of these.
It'll give you different feels. You'll be
Yeah.
super sad for one, super happy for another, just so like, oh my God, my heart for another. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. These are human lives. Like it's not
Yeah.
transactional like people are calling it, but it's human lives, you know? We're all people.
Yeah, we are.
Fine.
Thank you, ladies, for taking
Yes.
the time and coming and sharing your knowledge because
Thank you
it's
so
very
much.
helpful, very helpful. And thank
Yes.
you everyone who sent in your questions because those are
Yes.
very helpful.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, ladies.
Yes. I know this takes time out of your day, but we super,
I know.
super much appreciate it. We really
Thank
do.
you.
Good luck, whatever's next for you two.
Thank you.
Okay, bye, you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, well, yeah, so if you guys have any other questions that, you know, people should be asking in their match meetings or anything that should come up pre-matching or whatever it is, just feel free to let us know, drop a comment or something. And thank you, ladies, for coming and sharing
Yes.
your ideas and everybody else for sending in theirs because it's very helpful. And I think there are
Very
new questions that popped up. So
Yes.
if you guys would like to share your story or you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at Stop.Sit.Surrogate. And this has been another episode of Stop.Sit.Surrogate Friday Facts with Kennedy and Ellen.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.